Maintain your brain. A few thoughts on the arrival of a new Fahrenheit 451 future, plus a few mild site changes. Racket readers may have noticed a frantic edge to the site's strategy in the last year. After a self-inflicted wound led to Twitter X stepping on my personal account, I started to worry over what looked like the removal of multiple lanes from the information superhighway. Wikipedia rules tightened. Google search results seem like the digital equivalent of a magician forcing cards on consumers. In my case, content would often not even reach people who'd registered as social media followers just to receive those alerts. I was convinced the issue was political. There was clear evidence of damage to the left and right independence from companies like NewsGuard, or the ideologically driven algorithms behind Google or Amazon ad programs. To deduce the game was rigged to give unearned market advantages to corporate players. The story I couldn't shake involved video shooter John Farina, whose footage was on seemingly every cable channel after J6, but which he himself was barred from monetizing. Now I think differently. After spending months talking to people in tech, I realized the problem is broader and more unnerving. On top of the political chicanery, sites like Twitter and TikTok don't want you leaving. They want you scrolling endlessly, so you'll see ads, and more ads. The scariest speech I heard came from a tech developer describing how TikTok reduced the online experience to a binary mental state. You're either watching or deciding. Next. That's it. Your brain is just a switch. Forget following links or connecting with other users. 4 seconds of cat attacking vet. Next. 5 ticks on Taylor Ferber's boobs. Next. 15 on the guy who called 2 Chinese restaurants at once and held the phones up to each other. Next, etc. Generations ago, it wasn't uncommon for educated people to memorize chunks of the Iliad, building up their minds by forcing them to do all the rewarding work associated with real reading, assembling images, keeping track of plot and character structure, juggling themes and challenging ideas even as you carried the story along. Then came mass media. Newspapers shortened attention spans. Movies arrived and did digital assembly for you. TV mastered mental junk food. MTV replaced story with montages of interesting nonsensical images. Then finally the internet came and made it possible to endlessly follow your own random impulses instead of anyone else's schedule or plot. I'm not a believer in eat your vegetables media. People who want to reform the press often feel the solution involves convincing people that should just read 6,000 words ProPublica investigations about farm prices instead of visiting porn sites or watching awesome YouTube compilations of crane crashes. It can't work. The only way is to compete with spirit. Make articles interesting or funny enough that audiences will swallow the important parts. Although even that's the wrong motive. Rolling Stone taught me that the lad mag geniuses that company brought in the 90s, who were convinced Americans wouldn't read anything longer than 400 words in big type, were wrong. In fact, if you treat people like grown-ups, they tend to like a challenge, especially if the writer conveys his or her own excitement at discovery. The world is a great and hilarious mystery, and if you don't have confidence you can make the story of it fun, you shouldn't be in media. But there is one problem. Inventions like TikTok, which I'm on record saying shouldn't be banned, are designed to create mentally helpless users, like H-addicts. If you stand there scrolling and thinking next enough, your head will sooner or later be fully hollowed out. You'll lose the ability to remember, focus, and decide for yourself. There's a political benefit in this for leaders, but more importantly, there's a huge commercial boon. The mental jellyfish is more susceptible to advertising, which of course allows firms to charge more, and will show less and less will over time to walk out of the internet's various brain-eating chambers. A cross of Jimmy Page and Akira Kurosawa probably couldn't invent long-form content to lure away the boobs and cat video addicts these sites are making. The loss of capacity for memory or real experience is what makes people susceptible to the work of cartoon pseudo-intellectuals like Yuval Noah Harari, who seem to really think nothing good or interesting happened until last week. The profound negativity of these WEF-style technocrats about all human experience until now reminds me of Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, whose dystopian characters feared books because they show the pores of the face of life. We're entering a stage of history where, like the underground resistance in Bradbury's book, we'll have to build some consciousness as a movement to save the human mind. Because thinking for oneself has already been denounced as a forbidden or transgressive activity in so many different places, from campuses to newsrooms and beyond. It's probably already true that membership in certain heterodox online communities is enough to put a person on lists of undesirables. And look, I'm not going to lie, Substack is probably one of those places. But whether it's here or in some more extreme retreat in the future, I keep thinking of Russian World War II movies in which partisans were forced to live in forest hideouts in Belarus. We'll eventually want to get to know each other a little more, be a little more interactive. I've noticed this site is building readerships for fiction and other complex media products, so hopefully this is more of a haven from the brain-eating virus than its opposite. Who knows, but I hope. I'm adding a couple of unobtrusive new features to Racket. Nailed It is a reader comment of the week, complete with a quote and a little information about that person. You don't have to look at it if you don't want. It'll just live on the site on the Racket face page if you feel like clicking. We're also doing Q&As with other Substack writers, and unlike the last time we tried this won't depend on my overworked self doing the interviews. Site manager Emily Bivens is doing the heavy lifting. This week we've got author Matthew Crawford. A couple of other small things are coming. Read it, don't, no worries. But it's been a while since this site's initial mission statement, and I just want to put these thoughts down and offer one small update to the original concept. I think this is about a little bit more than independent journalism now. We need to be worried about saving brain cells, period. Ideas are welcome, and thanks for hanging in. Thanks for listening to the audio version of this article. For more, visit racket.news.